everyone, welcome back to Vibes and Vines. I'm Kira Matalasi, a plant mother and a music lover, and today I am here to show you not one, not two, not three, but 4 simple solutions that you can do to solve your thrip problem. Before I get started, it would mean so much if you guys could continue to show your love and support. If you can give this video a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to be notified every single time I post. First things first, what are thrips? And thrips are these tiny little annoying flies that if left untreated for too long will start to multiply and fly from plant to plant to plant. And if you have plants that look like this and are all kind of in the same realm, that's when shit can get sticky. But usually if you catch them at the early stages, this is the best. And at their early stages, what they look like are going to be little teeny tiny worms that you can only tell that they're not a piece of dust by staring at it. And then you can see it slowly start to move. So you're going to want to catch this early, or else they'll grow wings and they'll start to jump from plant to plant. So what thrips like to do is they like to suck all of the sap out of the plants, out of their leaves. So they typically like to reside, in my experience, on the underneath of really broad, thin leaves like lilies or monsteras. I even see one right now. I'm gonna put it up super close to the camera right here. I don't know if at least you can see this tiny little thing. This is actually as big as I've seen it get. So what you're gonna want to do now is smush it. They're really easy to smush. That's the plus side of thrips. How you begin to identify a thrip infestation is if your plant just stops growing. Like you get it, bring it home from the nursery, it's flourishing, it's looking so good, it's adding a little bada bing, bada boom. Everything's looking all nice, put together, your room's looking how it wants to do, and then boom, your plant's growth stops and you're kind of looking like, you were just doing so good. Another sign is the yellowing of the leaves. First, they're gonna start off like really yellow. You see the yellow on the inner part of the leaf? They're gonna start off like that. And this can get really confusing because usually when we see a yellow leaf, we associate it with our watering technique, whether or not we're overwatering or underwatering. But then you're gonna notice it starts to get progressively more black and then eventually get brown and just sort of start to die off. So in this case, you can see, like I said, it moves from one side of the leaf to the other. So it started off right here, they sucked all the nutrients, this started to die off, and then it's slowly starting to go back here. So I'm still working with this. This has been about like a month where I've just really been working with these plants, and I have a few of them separated all over the house. But this is a good telltale sign and a good example of what they look like literally, because I just saw one of the bugs on the plant, and how they operate. Another big sign that you have thrips is that they just kind of, the leaves are going like this, but then they just kind of hit a 90-degree turn and they droop, which is really weird because normally, if you see a droopy plant, you're like, okay, I need to give you some water. So this is where it can kind of confuse you. But if your plant's just like drooping immediately and is just kind of taking a sharp angle, that's when you know that something might be slowly eating away at your plant. I've made the mistake of thinking, oh, I need to water it. I water it and then the thrips multiply because bugs, pests, and everything under the sun love moisture. One thing about thrips is that they can be asexual if need be. And by asexual, I mean one little bug, one little thrip can make hundreds of other thrips. Now that we know what thrips are, what they do, how to identify them, and then a thrip literally made an appearance, now let's get into the treatment of how to get rid of these things. The first and most obvious example whenever you come in contact with pests and houseplants are going to be to spray them down. You can either do it outside on a patio. If you don't got one, you can put it on the street. If you want to do it in your lawn, you can do it on your lawn, but just go ahead and spray it down as hard as you can. They like to hide in the little crevices, so you want to make sure that you get all the underside of the leaves, all the top leaves. There's an important thing called the petioles. It's like when a leaf opens, like the opening right here, you see like where this leaf came out of, it's in this. So they like to hide in this little flap which can be really annoying because I've been like, oh my gosh, there's no thrips, I'm in the clear. And then like 2 weeks later, they're popping up with a whole different colony. So you're really gonna wanna make sure you get the ins and outs to really get rid of thrips. The only thing with hosing is that it cannot be your only technique. Hosing works really well for bigger bugs like aphids, beetles, all these different large pests that you typically find in bigger plants or outdoor plants. But for thrips, hosing is equivalent to taking a shower but not using any soap. It cleans you off a little bit, but it's not going to get the little grime that's in those places. So that's why you're going to need to start off with hosing and then follow with some of the things I'm going to tell you. The second way to get rid of thrips is going to be via insecticidal soap. Insecticidal soaps are made out of a lot of potassium salts that are inside of the fatty acids found in the soap. When I'm talking about soaps, I'm talking about pure soaps. I'm talking about Ivory soap. Dr. Bronner's is really nice. It's pure, it's soft, it's gentle, because if you use something like Dawn or any kind of detergent, it's going to strip away all of the protective layers on the plant. So really, if you decide to use those harsh soaps like the dish soaps or detergents, you're actually aiding in what the bug's trying to do. So the potassium salts, what they're going to do to the insects, they're going to eat away at their cell membranes just like they're trying to do to your houseplant. They also can block what's called spiracles, which are either pores that the bugs breathe out of, or sometimes a lot of bugs have an open trachea that's just kind of open out to the world. So the potassium salts are going to block all the pores or the bug's trachea to make it not be able to metabolize correctly, and it's going to affect its respiratory function. Basically, the bugs can't breathe and they die. With any organic pesticide, you are going to need to have direct contact. What I mean by direct contact is the plant still needs to have it dripping down or sticking onto it for it to actually kill the bugs. The third way to treat a thrip infestation is going to be through horticultural oils. Captain Jack's is a very common one that you'll see a lot of people use. I will note though that in my experience, neem is more of a preventative oil more than like an actual insecticide. And I also am a fan of Dr. Earth's Final Stop insecticide. Some of you may be wondering, what's inside these oils that make it work? Neem smell just deters a lot of insects, both for indoor and outdoor plants. But as far as oils that have actually killed bugs, in my experience, it's been stuff like Dr. Earth's Final Stop. It has rosemary, sesame oil, peppermint, thyme, cinnamon, and garlic. A lot of these oils are poisonous. That's why even in my garden, I plant certain herbs next to where I'm going to plant my vegetables because they just deter a lot of insects. And if you think about it, if herbs are enough around certain things to deter it, then concentrated essential oils are going to do even more. Similar to the insecticidal soap, what horticultural oils are going to do, they're going to clog the pores and the trachea of these insects. Like the soap, the insecticidal soap too, you are going to need to make direct contact. The fourth and final solution that I have for getting rid of thrips is going to be rubbing alcohol. It is not organic. I mean, technically it is in a chemistry standpoint, but we're not in chemistry class, so scoot that on over to the side. I use 99.5% isopropyl alcohol. Some people have 70, some people have 90. The obvious difference is that 90 is definitely going to be more potent than 70, but that really only comes into play if you're using it to clean. I take a little cotton swab, and get in all the crevices and wipe down the underparts of the leaves, the top of the leaves, all the little crevices in between, like the petioles that I showed you before. What this is going to do is the most intense. It pretty much melts immediately these insects. In my experience, this works the quickest. The reason why you wouldn't want to use it on a mass infestation is because the alcohol is so potent. You're not going to want to put that directly on the leaves like dishwasher or detergent. It can strip away a lot of the beneficial wax and protection on the leaves. If you did want to make an alcohol-based cleaner, you want to do 1 part alcohol, and for every 1 part of alcohol, you'd want to do 7 parts water. To those people that think exactly like I do and are like, well, maybe I don't need to dilute it, I don't know what 1 part to 7 parts is, I'm just gonna, wipe it real quick and maybe it'll be fine. No, don't do that. You're going to want to look up how to mix, what to mix. I don't know how much you want to do, so that's why I'm not giving the specific measurements, but you want to make sure it's watered down because I have damaged leaves with alcohol. So know it from me, you have a first-hand witness to not do that. Make sure it's diluted if you're going to be using it in mass. So now that all of y'all know what thrips are, what they do to your plants, how to identify them, and the 4 different ways that I have showed you how to treat them, thank you for coming. Click that like button, click the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to be notified of plant greatness, of music greatness. And speaking of music greatness, I have a music of the week coming at you hot next week. So be on the lookout for Music of the Week, episode 8. And until then, have a beautiful week, have a beautiful day, have a beautiful moment. And yeah, I shall see you next week.